I sat beside Russell M. Nelson for 34 years in the quorum of the 12 apostles. In that council, he was thoughtful and wise.
Every single word that was spoken at this meeting today rang true. That was the guy that I knew.
Well, you're going to make me cry. My experience with him, the first time I had the opportunity to meet him, the first thing he said to me was that I love you.
Today, President Russell M. Nelson was laid to rest following a public funeral and a private burial service. During his life, he touched the hearts of millions of people while serving as a prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. President Nelson was 101 years old.
Today, inside and outside the Salt Lake City Conference Center, we heard touching tributes to the spiritual leader, husband, father, and grandfather. We have live team coverage now of today's remarks and the lasting impact that President Nelson makes on Utah.
Let's go first to news specialist Daniel Woodruff in downtown Salt Lake City. And Daniel, President Nelson leaving behind a loving family and admirers all around the world.
Yeah, and the funeral today, Mike and Debbie, included two of President Nelson's children, a son and a daughter. Lori Marsh today sharing memories of her father and the happy home that the Nelson children had growing up as their parents helped them focus their lives on Jesus Christ. She said her father often whistled, sang, played the organ, skied, and doted on his many grandchildren. President Nelson's son, Russell M. Nelson Jr., also spoke at the funeral, saying that his father made family his top priority and also ministered to people around the world and in his own neighborhood.
I've had the honor of carrying the name Russell M. Nelson Jr. My father and I promised each other we would do our best to honor the name given to us. This has helped me with many decisions and situations in my life. I extend that thought to each of us as members of the Lord's Restored Church. Each of us have taken upon ourselves the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. We try to emulate him and be more like him and do our best to honor his name. May we continue to follow our prophets, make and keep sacred covenants, and be peacemakers in our life is my prayer and testimony.
Two more of President Nelson's daughters took part today in the funeral as well, offering the opening and closing prayers. And then a son-in-law of President Nelson's offered the family prayer prior to the funeral. Another son-in-law dedicated the grave. Daniel Woodruff, live at 5.
Thanks, Daniel. And other speakers at the funeral include the top leaders of the church who served with President Nelson side by side for decades.
Yeah, news specialist Dan Rascone has that story. Joins us live right now. And Dan, some wonderful tributes today.
Really some wonderful tributes indeed. You know, these are top leaders of the church that serve right now, and they know President Nelson so well. They've sat together, they've served together, and they've even traveled together. So when they speak about President Nelson, they know what they're talking about. In that regard, President Dallin H. Oaks and Elder Henry B. Eyring and Elder Jeffrey R. Holland all spoke talking about President Nelson's love and care for others and his incredible leadership.
I have been an eyewitness to President Nelson's ability to help each person in a meeting to feel that his or her opinion on a particular matter was important to him. President Nelson's desire to hear these opinions and views was real.
He was dignified and courteous with every man and woman he met, be they diplomats or other dignitaries, new neighbors, or complete strangers. And he loved the rising generation.
President Oaks spoke of how once President Nelson became prophet, he buckled his seatbelt and said, "This is going to be a fun ride because of all the decisions and changes President Nelson made from the very beginning." We'll hear from President Oaks coming up at 6 o'clock. I'm Dan Rascone, live at 5. Back to you guys.
Dan, thank you so much. Thousands of people packing the conference center today for President Nelson's funeral. Some of them locals, some of them from around the world.
Yeah, news specialist Mike Anderson was out talking to them today and what they had to say about him. Mike?
Yeah, Debbie and Mike, a wide variety of people showing up here at the conference center today. And, we're hearing a lot of comments, different kinds from President Nelson's life and legacy, from ushering in many new temples to the guidance that got us through the pandemic. And a couple of people told us that his regular announcements of new temples on the way made their families want to attend the temple more regularly. Others commented on how he made everyone feel important, that even from a distance you could feel kind of a personal relationship because of his teachings and the impact made in people's lives.
It was just so evident to hear in all the different aspects and in the different groups of people. He always came across as someone who was happy, with a cheerful disposition, and who carried himself with such dignity in every way.
He led not only by example, but he led people to Christ. And he made sure that he knew that everybody come unto Christ.
And others told us that President Nelson also served as an important leader for the younger generations, helping the youth of the church to make right decisions in some very difficult times. And a lot of reasons from people out here why he will be missed. And, out of 24 years as an apostle, more than 6 years as a prophet, for the church, he's had a lot of time to leave that impression with people. Mike Anderson, live at 5.
All of these tributes have been so wonderful. Mike, thank you. And joining us now in studio is KSL religion specialist Carol Makita.
Yeah, Carol, today we heard from Camille Johnson, the Relief Society General President. She had quite a bit to share. And in his words, her just serving around him changed her life, didn't it?
That's exactly what she said. And it was deeply personal, Mike. President Johnson said the President Nelson treated her with the love of a father, and that she witnessed his spiritual discernment in an important way for the women of the church.
Speaking directly to the women, President Nelson said, "The heavens are just as open to women who are endowed with God's power, flowing from their priesthood covenants, as they are to men who bear the priesthood. I pray that truth will register upon each of your hearts, because I believe it will change your life."
President Johnson said as that registered in her heart, it changed her life. She also spoke about hosting a visitor from another country who expressed her impressions of President Nelson.
I was once invited to have dinner with a foreign ambassador who had, earlier in the day, met with President Nelson. She was a highly articulate woman who told me, "I just can't come up with words to describe how I felt being with him. I just had tears in my eyes." She was experiencing something extraordinary but didn't have words for it. She was in the presence of a prophet of God.
And she said that she knows to be true. President Johnson expressed gratitude to Sister Wendy Nelson for the love and care of President Nelson for over the last nearly 20 years, and also to his children for sharing their father with the world.
Carol, you were able to go on parts of that world tour, so you watched him in action. As we've kind of seen the curtain get pulled back this week, what have been some of your favorite parts of that?
Well, I think remembering those moments that he would embrace an entire large group of people and then greet each one individually at the end of a meeting, or walk through the congregation and reach out and touch and hug and kiss people as he did. And the same thing he did with missionaries who were serving around the world. He would stand and shake the hands of every single one of them. So these are beautiful reminders of a man who expressed his love and the love of the Savior to everyone he met.
And the common thread, Carol, between every single story I've heard is love.
Yes.
Is the love he had for so many. Didn't matter who they were. Great stuff.
Thank you.